In the last video on my Mustang, I said it needed an MOT. Now over here in the UK, that's our equivalent of a safety check. So whilst I was getting it ready to go for its MOT, I ran through a couple of things on it and checked a few things just to make sure everything was working as it should. And I did find out that the windscreen washers don't work, which is a bit of an issue when you need those to pass an MOT. And on an SM95 Mustang, the windscreen washers are in here, underneath the cowl panel. This is the washer pipes, and there's another one there. Now, in order to get this cowl panel off, which is made of plastic, I'll show you how that comes off on the other Mustang. To take these off, first of all, you've got to take the windscreen wiper arm off altogether. Now, at the side of this one, there's a little lip there. Grab hold of that and pull that out towards the car. If it won't pull out, you can put something in like a screwdriver, twist it, and encourage that to pull off. And then when the wiper arms lift up, you can just lift the wiper arm straight off. Obviously, you'll see that when I put mine back together. Once these wiper arms are off, you can get your finger in there and you can lift. You might be able to see that just moving there. What you want to do is to pull this away from the screen and get your fingers over. Get your fingers underneath and just lift it up. There's 6 brackets that go all the way along this. I'll show you those on the other one that I've taken off the other car in a couple of minutes. And it does clip underneath the windscreen trim on either side, so you've got to make sure that goes on properly as well. These are the windscreen washer jets. Now on my Mustang, when I used the washers, there was water getting through, but it was just forming a little puddle down here, as it was just dribbling out, obviously due to the fact that they were blocked, or at least it looked as though they were blocked. Now the other thing you've got to do, in order to get the panel off, underneath here, inside the bonnet, you take the rubber trim off, and there's 3 screws. There's one pretty much at that side of the bonnet, one about here in the middle, and one at this side of the bonnet. Those 3 screws are a small cross-headed or Phillips or posi drive, however you look at it. There's only 3 of them to take out. Now they don't come all the way out, and you can't get a full-size screwdriver in there, so you'd have to sort of get a little screwdriver bit in on a little extension and use that to loosen the screws out. They don't come all the way out because they actually go through a plastic clip that has like an arrow on the end of it that expands as you put the screw in. So on mine, I'll show you when it all goes back together. On mine, the screws came out with the plastic clip, which was ideal because nothing broke. Now, when you're trying to lever off that whole cowl panel, you do need to be a little bit careful with it, otherwise it may crack or it may shatter. It is over 30-year-old plastic now, and it is prone to cracking, especially if it's spent any great length of time in the sun over there in the States before the car was imported over here, or it's had a hard life. So be careful of that because they are expensive to replace, and I believe that the new ones actually come in 2 pieces, which means you get a horribly ugly seam in the middle when you put the 2 pieces back in. Mine came out absolutely fine. This is what the cowl looks like when you take it out of the car. Now obviously this one's very discoloured and faded from the sun over the years, so I will do something about that before it goes back in the car. But these holes here, you can see a hole there where one screw goes. There's a hole there, and there's another hole there. Now, there's only those 3 screws that hold it in, and the rest are clips on the underneath. So you've got a clip there, of which that one's broken. There's a clip there with a little bit of metal on it. There's another one there, one there, which also has the metal missing, and one there that's broke off. When you put this back in the car, they actually slot into these holes along here. So you've got one there, there's one there, that one there, that one there, and obviously the 2 over that side of the car as well. This obviously needs a clean out as well, which I'll get the vacuum in there before I put the thing back together. And when it's in the car, this is the hole for one of the washer jets. That's for a windscreen wiper. That's your other washer jet, and that's your other windscreen wiper. And this is what the washer jets look like. Now this little spring clip here, if you can see that moving a little bit. This washer jet just slides into there. It's a push fit, and that spring clip just locates it in there. When you put them back in, make sure you've got that bit pointing towards the windscreen, obviously. And then this pipe on the end just slides into there. It's actually a push fit into there. That comes out under the cowl and directs that to the water pipe, or connects that to the water pipe. Now, if you can see here, and these black bits you can see here, that's a small amount of the dirt, detritus, grunge that came out of these block jets when I was trying to clear them. Now, the way I used to clear them, first of all, I just got a paper clip, opened the paper clip up, and that's big enough to slide into there. And once you get that in there, you can work that around and try and get some of the dirt out. I also used this exceptionally small and incredibly easy to lose, don't ask me how I know. This is a 1 millimeter drill bit that obviously slides in as well. The beauty of the drill bit is, with it being a drill bit, when you slide that in, you can actually turn it around by hand in both directions, and that encourages some of this black dirt to stick to it, and it pulls it out. That helps get it out. I also used, to make sure it would fit in, this is a 2 millimeter drill bit, and I slid that in the bottom and did the same in there and twisted that around and pulled that out. It was also helped if I used brake cleaner. So with the brake cleaner, it's just a case of putting the nozzle in there, squirting the brake cleaner into it. You will see some of the black bits do come out all over your fingers. You can just about get that in there, squirt it in there as well, but it works much better if you squirt it in the bottom. Now originally, when I got these, when I took them off and I blew through it, it was blocked and nothing would come out. Now once you think you've got them clear, the easiest way to find out if you do have a small enough airline to get into there, you can actually see if you can blow air through. If you can't blow air through though, you can always, once they're dried and there's no brake cleaner on there or anything like that, you can use carb cleaner as well, but once they're dried and all that's gone off there, you actually put it in your mouth and blow through it. Now hopefully you'll be able to hear this. I'll just move the microphone so you can actually see if you can hear what this sounds like now they're both cleared. That was the first one. Now those both sound clear and unblocked to me, so I'll get them reconnected onto the car and then we'll test them again and see if we'll get water flowing through them before I clean anything on the car and put the cowl back on. Now hopefully this will show on camera and you'll be able to see both those jets, if I've done it properly and if they're working now. Well, that certainly fixed that. Two very healthy windscreen washer jets there, I think you'll agree. Now all I've got to do is take those washer jets back off, get that underneath the cowl plastic cover cleaned out, hoovered out, and then I can clean the cover before I put that on, and maybe we'll give it a bit of a stand and give it a bit of paint just to freshen it up a little bit, and then the car should be ready to go for the MOT. And with the washers fixed, it's time to put the cowl back onto the car and connect the washers up to the water pipes. And before I do that though, I want to make the cowl look a little bit better, so there's some slight discoloration and some fading from the sun over the airs. So what I'm going to do is mask off the rubber, sand it down a little bit and scuff it up and make it so it's nice and rough, so it's got a key for the paint, and then I'm going to give it a couple of quick coats of satin black before it goes back in the car. So start by putting a bit of masking tape on. And this should be enough to cover the rest of that rubber trim. I've already got the rest of it covered, so I'm just putting this bit on here, overlapping the first bit, and then making sure it lines up with the edge of the rubber without actually going over the top of the cowl itself. We'll just get that to the end and tuck it under back on itself. Run fingers along the edge to make sure it's stuck down enough. Now a little bit of overspray won't matter too much, owing to the fact that it's all going to be black anyway. I'm not changing the colour of it. And there's these two bits of rubber here that covers the hinges that needs to be covered as well. Now I'm only covering the rubber, as I say, the rubber is black, the same colour as I'm painting it, but I'm only covering the rubber because using a car body paint on rubber, with all the flexing it'll do and the moving around, it will crack. And I'd rather it didn't, because it'll end up looking unsightly. So if I cover it properly, it should make sure that there's not going to be any overspray. Of course, the operative word there is should. There's no guarantees it'll work, but it'll stop the majority of the paint going on the rubber. There we are. Now I don't know if it'll show up on camera or not, but there is a tiny little bit of blue there, which will be overspray. from when it was painted from silver and changed into blue. And now that that's all finished, so I've got all a bit of tape, bit of just blue masking tape over the rubber that goes all the way along here on the panel. And I've also covered the rubber sections on both sides where the hinges go through for the bonnet. And that's it, pretty much ready for painting. Now this will be the bit where all you painters out there, including you Dave, if you're watching this, this will be where all you painters get really upset with me and start furiously typing away on the keyboard, saying that's not the way to do it. You should sand it down properly, prime it with a proper primer that covers plastics or JRP, and you should also use a proper paint that covers JRP as well. Well, I'm not doing any of that, so I don't really care. It's a cheap car. I've fixed the windscreen washers. I just need this panel to look a little bit better and uniform in colour than it did previously. So what I'm doing at the moment is giving it a final wipe down with a Scotch pad. Now this is one of a pack of 3 that I got from a local car accessory shop. I do apologise about the knocking, it's the step that this is sitting on at the minute. And all I've done is, it came in, like I say, the Scotch pads came in a pack of 3. There was a coarse, a medium and a fine. And I've rubbed it all down using all 3 in order. And I think that now is just about ready to put a coat of paint on. And just so you can have a close look at that, there's a bit of a sheen to it, but it's not a gloss effect anymore. It's all flattened down quite nicely all the way across. Everything's covered that needs to be covered, and I've got full access to it. Now I'm not painting the underneath of it. I don't need to paint underneath it. You're never going to see it. And it's probably not going to be the best of finishes, but at least it's going to be all one colour. It's going to all have the same amount of shine to it. I'm using a satin black, not a matte black or a gloss black, a satin black, so it'll be semi-shiny, which is the way it was originally when it first came out of the factory. So I'll get you set up on camera so you can see what I'm doing. I'll give it a couple of coats. Right, I've got the door open for ventilation. Let's see how this works. And as you can see, that's covered in a nice couple of coats of satin black. It still looks gloss at the moment because it hasn't dried. And I've even made sure that I've got these bits here where the screws go as well. So that'll dry through the night in here in the heat, because it's really warm in here in the garage at the minute, which is going to be really helpful for the paint, because it means that the cowl isn't stood outside where various bugs and bits of dust and everything and bits of rubbish blown in from the little breeze we've got out there at the minute can actually stick to the paint. There's no bugs in here, there's nothing flying around. Obviously before I put the paint on it, after I'd rubbed it down a bit and scored it, I did go over it with an airline to make sure there was no bits sticking to it that would stand out in the paint. So hopefully we're in for a good finish, or at least a satin finish, when I come in tomorrow to have a look at it, because we're going to have to stay here overnight, as I said. And admittedly, I'm not a painter. It's very rare I do any kind of painting. I usually just slather things in primer and then rub it all down and get somebody else to paint it. That may well be evident from the way I've just painted that. So if there's any professional painters out there, and especially Dave, if you're watching, you being a professional painter and all, if that looked like a complete pig's ear to you, It probably is, but the finish so far looks pretty damned amazing. Hopefully it'll dry, fingers crossed, in exactly the same way as it looks while it's sitting down there on the stand when it dries overnight. However, the next bit of the video I say is going to be tomorrow now, so a couple of seconds for you, overnight for me, because I've got to leave that to dry. Then that's got to have the windscreen washer nozzles put back into it, be connected up the water pipes, go back on the car, and then the car is done as far as going for an MOT is concerned, which is already booked in. So hopefully it's a nice day tomorrow. Now I can get that fitted to the car, and also hopefully I don't wreck the paintwork on the end of it when I slide it under those windscreen pillars. But you'll see that in a couple of seconds from now. So it's the next day, and I haven't been out here yet. You're coming with me into the garage. I'm going to see what the cover looks like, or what the cowl looks like since I painted it yesterday. Now I haven't been in here yet. I've just unlocked the door, grabbed the camera, and come in to see what the thing looks like. Oh yes, look at this. How good does that look? That's come out so much better than I thought it would. Right, let's get the tape off and see what the finished article looks like when it's ready to go back on the car. Right, so let's get this paint tape off the edge. And it's coming off really well. And it appears to be leaving a nice clean edge on the rubber. I've just moved that to a better position. You can see around the edges of the rubber for the hinge cover. It's fine, covered really well there. One of the sides exactly the same. That's covered really well. And then on the other side, where the rubber trim is, that's covered equally as well, all the way along there. And that's what it looks like in daylight. That's come up really well. So I'll move back a bit, and then I'll split the screen, and I'll put a picture in there as well of what it looked like before it was painted, cleaned and painted. Then we'll get it on the car. First thing I need to do though is to put these unblocked jets in that hole there, and they just go in that bit facing towards the windscreen. Just pop into there, and clip in. That's that one in. And then one on the other side, exactly the same, pops into that hole facing the windscreen, clips down. That's both this in, ready to go. Let's get this on the car. Right, now putting this back on the car, that edge there needs to go underneath that edge of trim there, on both sides. So we'll get that bit in first. Right, this is a bit fiddly. I can get that under there. Right, that's that bit in. So that's one side in, I think. I'll be able to see if I can get the other side in from here. So that needs to go under that bonnet now. I do believe that's just about in. Yep, manoeuvre that down into those where the holes are, and we're there. This is the fiddliest bit. Just lightly tapping those clips into place. Get the screws to go back in, and then put the trim on. Right, well that seems to have gone on really well at the minute. These are the next bits to go in, these screws. Now as you can see, Phillips head screw, and I've got those two. Now those two little clips push in the hole, and then you can tighten the screw down just a little bit. And there's three of them to go in, and if you can see, there's one goes there, one there, and one over there. Let's see if we can get these in, get this clamped down, and then the job's nearly done. So they push into the hole, and then a little bit of a tighten. Sorry if all you can see is my arm at the minute. That's the first one in, and then the second one goes in there exactly the same. So I can tap that one down in a minute. I'll get this one in. And these last two have been a bit stubborn, so what I've done is taken the screw out of the little plastic clip, put the clip in, and then I'm going to put the screw in, which is probably the way it's meant to go. But we'll get that in that way and get them tightened up. And there's just a rubber trim that goes along here, and then the two wipers, and then the job's done and we're finished. So that one in. And that one's in as well. So they're all in nice and tight. It's a good fit. Rubber trim round the hinges is where it should be. The only thing I need to put on now is this rubber trim. Which goes that way around. I think. Does that go that way around? No, it goes the other way around. It's getting through behind there. Now this just fits over the top of this clamp, or this seal. Once that end started, it should all just squeeze over the seam on the engine, on the bulkhead. Behind that wire. Right. And that's on there all the way down. That then is the windscreen washers, the rubber trim and the plastic cowl back into place. The bonnet's not catching on anything on the way down. Okay, so now there's just the wipers to go back on. They just slide back over there, making sure you get them in the right position. That's too high. So we'll try about there. Still too high. We're nearly there. Yeah, perfect. And then the same on the other side, which is one of the reasons I didn't clean the windscreen, because I wanted the marks from the screen. Oh, I put the wrong wiper on the wrong side. I have. So that one fits on there then. And that's too low. Try it there. It's a little too high. Right, I've got one on. Now it appears if you don't fit these far enough down on the spindle, they need to sort of lock into position on the spindle, like that. For some reason that one's not going down. Right, I've got it. You'd never believe what was stopping it from going down. When you lift the arm up to take it off, this little pin here, you have to pull out. If you look down in front of my finger, you'll see it just slides out there. If that's too far out, you haven't pushed that in far enough, it stops this arm from folding down flat. So now that's pushed in, that arm's flat, and on the windscreen, as they both are. Let's give these a quick test. Hopefully the jets are in the right place, and they'll go and soak the windscreen. Well, as you can see, that's fixed. So now I've got all the lights are working, the brakes are working, everything seems to be working, including the windscreen washers. So now I can take it for an MOT, which hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll pass. And even though it's a little bit wet, look how good that cowl looks. Lovely in black, matching, no white patches, no bits on it at all. Just a bit of water solution from the washers and the wipers. That looks so much better looking like that. Mind, for a minute there, I didn't think those wipers were going to go on. I thought I'd done something wrong with the wipers, but at least it's all back together. Nothing got broken, nothing got lost. Fantastic result. Thanks for watching this one all the way through. If you have, to see it unblock your washers, take it all apart and put it all back together. If you've enjoyed the video, press the like button on the way out and consider subscribing to the channel for more stuff like this that needs fixing when you never know what's going to happen next. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.